many retirees are waking up to warnings that could directly affect both their savings and the support they rely on during the winter months. This is not a small update, and it is certainly not something that can be ignored. For years, pensioners have trusted the system to provide stability, but today we are talking about a serious warning from the DWP that specifically targets two groups of retirees. If you fall into either of these categories, your financial security could be at risk, and the impact may stretch far beyond this year. In fact, we are looking at the possibility of losing thousands of pounds in savings and also being cut off from the crucial £300 winter fuel payment. For retirees living on fixed incomes, such a development is nothing short of alarming. The introduction of this warning has not been a quiet process. It has been described as a final warning, which means the time for action is now. Many retirees may think they are safe, but the truth is that these rules apply to very specific groups, and unfortunately, the people who are most vulnerable are the ones at the greatest risk. This isn't just about the technical side of pensions, it's about day-to-day survival, the ability to heat your home during the coldest months, and the security of knowing that the money you worked for all your life is not going to disappear. That is why we need to break this down carefully, step by step, to fully understand what is happening, who is affected, and what can be done to protect yourself from financial loss. For anyone hearing this for the first time, the numbers themselves are enough to create shock. We are talking about potential losses of £10,000 in savings, which is a life-changing amount for retirees who do not have the opportunity to return to work and rebuild those savings. Add to that the removal of a £300 winter fuel payment, which many pensioners rely on to manage heating bills, and the reality becomes even harder to accept. The government may describe these changes as part of an adjustment, or as a necessary tightening of the rules, but for those on the receiving end, this is an extremely personal crisis. It means colder homes, tighter budgets, and a deep sense of uncertainty about the future. When the DWP uses the phrase, final warning, we have to take that seriously. This is not a small adjustment buried in the paperwork. It is an official declaration that time is running out. Retirees are being told that unless they meet certain requirements, they will not be able to access money that they may have been depending on. And the reality is that many people either do not know about these requirements or are struggling to meet them. The risk of missing deadlines or failing to provide the correct information is very real, and the consequences could be devastating. This is exactly why retirees need clarity and guidance, because without it, the losses could be irreversible. The two groups under scrutiny by the DWP are being identified for specific reasons. The first group includes retirees who are living abroad but still claiming UK benefits. The government has made it clear that residency rules will be strictly enforced, and many who have moved overseas for retirement could suddenly find themselves excluded from payments. This includes the winter fuel payment, which was once available even to retirees living in warmer countries but has now been restricted. The rules are tightening, and those who fail to meet the new standards could be cut off completely. The second group involves retirees with unreported or underreported savings and investments. The DWP is carrying out more detailed checks, working closely with banks and financial institutions, and this means that anyone who has failed to disclose the full value of their assets could be at risk of losing support. In some cases, the amount at stake is over £10,000, and this has led to what many are calling an unfair targeting of pensioners who may not have even realized they were making mistakes in their declarations. For retirees who have always believed they were following the rules, this is a frightening development. For many watching this, the key question is simple: how can you protect yourself from these losses? The first step is awareness. Far too many pensioners are unaware of these changes until it is too late. By paying attention now, by understanding which groups are at risk, and by checking your own status carefully, you can avoid falling into the trap that has already cost others their benefits. The DWP is not going to make exceptions for ignorance. They have been very clear that compliance is the responsibility of the retiree. That means making sure your residency is properly documented, ensuring your savings are correctly reported, and responding immediately to any official letters or warnings. But even with this knowledge, there are wider questions that cannot be ignored. Why is this happening now? Why are retirees, who have already contributed decades of work and taxes, being singled out in this way? Many experts suggest that the rising cost of government spending is behind these decisions. The winter fuel payment alone costs the Treasury billions of pounds each year, and by cutting off groups of retirees, the government reduces its financial burden. Similarly, by enforcing stricter rules on savings, the DWP can limit the number of people who qualify for additional support. From a budget perspective, This might make sense, but from a human perspective, it creates deep hardship. This is why campaigners and pensioner advocacy groups are raising their voices louder than ever before. They argue that the government is failing in its duty to protect retirees, that instead of offering security in later life, it is creating new risks, and they are not wrong. For retirees already dealing with the rising cost of living, with energy bills that seem to climb higher every winter, removing £300 from their household budget can mean the difference between heating and eating. For those who may lose £10,000 in savings, the stress and anxiety are immeasurable. The story of these two groups is not just about numbers on a page. It is about real people, people who worked hard, who built up their savings, who trusted that the system would look after them in retirement. To be told now that they face exclusion, penalties, and loss is more than just disappointing, it feels like a betrayal. Many retirees feel that the rules are changing without enough warning, without enough explanation, and without enough support to help them navigate these changes. The sense of being left behind, of being pushed aside, is growing, and it is this frustration that fuels the anger we are seeing today. For anyone listening, this is not just a warning, it is a call to action. The DWP's message is final, and the time to respond is limited. If you are part of one of these groups, you must act now to secure your future. That means reaching out for advice, contacting the DWP directly if necessary, and making sure that all your documents and records are in order. Waiting until next year, or hoping that the situation will change, is not an option. Once the deadline passes, the losses will be permanent, and no amount of protest will bring the money back. At the same time, it is important to remember that you are not alone. Thousands of retirees are in the same position, facing the same risks, and asking the same questions. By sharing information, by talking openly about these issues, and by supporting one another, the impact can be reduced. Awareness is a powerful tool, and in moments like this, it can be the difference between losing out and holding on to what is rightfully yours. The urgency of this situation cannot be overstated. A £300 winter fuel payment may seem like a small sum to some, but for many retirees, it is essential. It is the difference between being able to keep the heating on through the coldest nights and being forced to endure freezing temperatures, combined with the threat of losing £10,000 in savings. This creates a picture of real hardship that no retiree should have to face. The DWP may frame this as a matter of fairness, as an effort to ensure that benefits are not abused, but for the individuals affected, it feels like punishment for simply trying to live their retirement years in peace. And as we look ahead, we must ask, what comes next? If retirees are losing support today, what guarantees do we have that more benefits will not be taken away tomorrow? This is why it is so important to stay informed, to pay close attention to government announcements, and to never assume that your benefits are safe. The system is changing, and those who fail to keep up with these changes are the ones most likely to suffer. That is the harsh reality, and it is why today's warning is so critical. So, if you are listening now, take this message seriously. The DWP's final warning is not something you can afford to ignore. Two groups of retirees are being targeted, and if you are part of those groups, your financial security is at stake. Do not delay. Do not hope the problem will go away. Take action today, and protect your savings, protect your winter fuel payment, and protect your retirement, because in the end, the only person who can safeguard your future is you.